Hello and welcome to the Wizards Institute of Technology. Let's have a look at the starter commander decks as a whole to see if it's worth picking up one and compare it with the commander environment at the end of 2024. If you've already got one, I think these are fantastic. If you play them against each other, it's a great way to introduce new players to get used to the mechanics in the game, and everyone will have a good time as there is no sudden or unexplained victories or infinite combos which can leave new players feeling disappointed. There are 5 distinct themes, and although we see tokens pop up in 3 of the 5 decks, their playstyles are quite different from each other. I have personally owned and have piloted all of these decks, and I have taken them in unmodified against even the latest commander precons from the Bloom Burrows set. First of all, let's look at their value. Like most Magic the Gathering products now, the price varies wildly online and in stores. This is really a bad thing for us players, but there remains the potential to find bargains out there. Taking myself as an example, I purchased these starter commander decks for approximately 15 to 16 USD, and I'm sure at that price, these would be worth picking up for most players. What I don't believe is good is seeing these for $27 USD or higher. Let's have a look at the prices. Draconic Destruction is the most valuable here, followed by Chaos Incarnate. This is due to having a single $5 card in the deck, like Lightning Greaves. The other 3 aren't worth anything, even if they contain staple cards like Counterspell. The more valuable decks have markup pricing, unless you buy them as a set of 5. As a set of 5, they're the price of 2 Bloom Burrow Commander decks. Whether that's worth it to you is your decision. Compare that to Bloom Burrow, where we see a similar thing. It is possible to pick these up for about $50, but prices do vary wildly. What we don't see is the availability of Squirreled Away, and thus it has heavy markups. At that price, it's not worth it either. The Bloom Burrow decks also contain a collector booster sample pack, which does add slightly to the value. Previously to that, we saw life wheels and thick cardboard commander cards, all of which the starter decks don't have. Can you have more fun with 5 decks than 2? I haven't regretted purchasing the starter decks or playing them with friends who are new, and you can force the experienced players in your pod to play with them against newer players with more powerful decks to even the playing field here. Speaking of power, the starter decks bring a very low 4 or 5 power level. If you bring them unmodified to a regular game of Commander at a local game store, you'll be bringing a knife to a gunfight, and you probably won't have a good time. I upgraded mine to power level 6, and they do well at a casual table and can secure victory on a regular basis. The idea was to take a beginner player and give them something that had a clear and easy game plan, but improve the cards in the deck so they can do that more effectively. Token Triumph gets going very quickly, and with some choice upgrades can get out of hand. I remember a few games where it was unstoppable. Draconic Destruction always ends up smashing face, and with haste and damage multipliers it can destroy the table in a blink of an eye. A little more difficult, the zombies need their army to stick for a whole turn, but can pull a big horde out of nowhere and keep their creatures bouncing back for value. First Flight was the hardest for me to upgrade, and I'm still working on a build for that around birds. Chaos Incarnate can lean more into goad or ping damage, and lower its mana curve to improve its efficiency and power level. It's important to note that the mana bases of the starter decks contain mostly basic lands, and the non-basic lands are quite slow, usually coming in tapped. I would say by far that this is the biggest difference between the starter decks and the regular precons. The Bloom Burrow precons are the latest wave of precons, and they blow everything else away, with the exception of the Ixalan precons and the Modern Horizons 3 precons. They have decent mana bases, powerful strategies, and they're not beginner friendly anymore. I would really not recommend any of these precons to a new player, as I've watched many new players struggle with precons before. If I had to choose one, the exception here would be the Raccoon deck, as Gruul has an easier to understand game style than the others. I believe that precons are not made for introducing new players to the game any longer. I think it's existing players that are picking them up to breathe new life into their tables. A perfect example is the Family Matters precon from Bloomburrow, which seems to have no ceiling on its power level. How can we get new players in the game if the starter commander decks are so significantly less powerful than regular precons are now? But regular precons are too complicated for new players. Do we need new starter commander decks at power level 7? Leave me your comments below and let's discuss that next time. Thank you for visiting the Wizards Institute of Technology.